Love of Swimming is a podcast that celebrates the wonderfully diverse community of swimmers and fantastic swimming opportunities that exist on the Isle of Wight off the south coast of England. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Sandy Cicognani. In 2019, I started the group Outdoor Swimming Isle of Wight as I wanted to find people to swim with in the sea. Since then, I've been on an amazing swimming journey, meeting some wonderful people who share my passion for swimming. I founded a social enterprise to support and encourage people to swim in the sea, trained to be an open water coach, developed the concept of a sea cafe, and have brought the sport of longe-cote, renamed sea hiking, to the place where I live. I'm part of the outside research study team based at Sussex University, looking at outdoor swimming as a nature-based social prescribing intervention for depression, and I work in the voluntary sector on the Isle of Wight. For the Love of Swimming is also the name of a series of community events that aim to share information and inspiration and to connect people through swimming. So if you're lucky enough to live on or visit the island, look out for these events coming soon. Follow us on all the usual social media channels and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more personal swimming stories. In this episode, I interview Fran Holdsworth, a regular swimmer in Freshwater Bay. Unfortunately, our decision to do the interview at Freshwater Bay was not a particularly good one. There is a fair amount of distortion from the waves and the wind, unfortunately, but I so enjoyed this interview that I really wanted to share it with you. And hopefully one day I'll be able to re-record an interview with Fran when she returns from Australia. But for now, here is the interview that we did at Freshwater Bay. Yes, so today I'm in Freshwater Bay and I'm meeting Fran Holdsworth for the first time. So thank you for coming on the podcast. Welcome, Fran.
Thank you very much. You're very welcome.
And so it is a little bit noisy, but it's absolutely gorgeous here. We're looking out on a very sunny sea, and I couldn't wish to be anywhere else really doing this interview. But if we could I start by asking you, Fran, just to introduce yourself and tell me what sort of swimmer are you?
I'm driven to swim. There's something inside me that makes me really want to be in that water. So this morning, when I came down to the bay early on, it was way too rough to get in where we're looking now. But I went round the corner to the little bay and struggled in there, in spite of the fact that it makes no sense. And I'm just one of the local eccentrics that do this thing. Because we have to do it. So I'm that kind of swimmer. I can't not do it.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing it for, if you don't mind me asking?
Forever. I think I had polio when I was 5, and one of the things that I've been very able to do is to swim. Walking has been much harder, and when we were 5 we came and lived in the Isle of Wight. So we used to spend a lot of time on the beach, and I don't actually remember learning to swim.
Right.
I know my mum and my dad were both very good swimmers, and I think maybe having developed strong upper body muscles to deal with crutches, which I've been on for 70 years next year.
Wow.
I have the ability to swim just with my upper body strength, so I don't use my legs at all. So I've been swimming since I was tiny, really.
Wow.
There are pictures of me at Compton when I was 3 years.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So you know these waters quite well?
I know these waters quite well, and especially this bay. This is my favourite place for swimming, probably in the world, because I know it so well. I know how safe I can be, how I can head straight out. Oh, there are wonderful stories about me in this bay.
Well, hopefully we'll get some of them out of you today.
I go off those steps that you can see over there. I leap over the wall in my gazelle-like fashion, leave my sticks at the top, go down to the sea without having to walk on the pebbles and get in from there. But that means that somebody sees me heading off to sea, leaving a pile of clothes and crutches behind, which has caused a few problems in the past.
Really? Such as?
Well, like calling in at the lifeboat station saying there's a woman their response is, she always comes back. And then there was the time the Coast Guard came. Some tourist or other thought I was in distress, which I denied, absolutely. And when I got out and was changing again, there was a Coast Guard above me, hovering with binoculars, looking out to sea. And eventually I said to him, "What are you looking for?" And he said, "A swimmer in distress." So I had to apologise, and he said, "We'd always rather come than not be sure. So don't worry about it." So I'm well known around these parts.
Yeah. Well, I think you've almost answered some of my simple questions already, but let's start. What is your favourite stroke?
My favourite stroke's overarm. I can't do the leg muscles to go with breaststroke, so it doesn't work for me. I end up doing doggy paddle, which is not very efficient. So overarm.
Yeah. Okay. And do you always swim in the sea, or are you also a bit of a pool swimmer?
No, I have always swum in the sea until about 3 or 4 years ago, and then I spend my British winters in Australia, so I do summer, and my swimming beach there is now too difficult to get in and out of the water. I can't do it anymore, so I've actually, with the money that my mum left me, I've built a swimming pool in my backyard out there, which is only 9 metres long, so I go to and fro.
Yeah.
So it's not just sea swimming anymore, and here I can still get in, but every year I think I don't know how many more years.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I use the swimming pool at the West White occasionally.
Yeah. Okay.
Not if I can be outside.
Yeah. So we've established that Freshwater Bay is one of your favourites.
Definitely.
Would you say you've got a favourite place that you've ever swum in your life, or somewhere that's most memorable?
Well, this bay and Port Wollonga in Australia, which is very close to where I live there, that's a glorious bay. It's another bay, much longer, but wonderful swimming if you're not too bothered about the sharks.
I think a lot of us would be quite bothered by that.
People are very bothered about them, but honestly, the statistics show that more people die from mosquito bites than shark bites. And it doesn't bother me. I acquired two nicknames I have out there. One of them is mermaid, which is very straightforward, but the other one is shark bait. Because there used to be a fisherman that sat at the top of the cliff overlooking the bay and saw me swimming and thought I went too far out, so he nicknamed me shark bait, and I'm very proud of that.
So you should be. Good nickname.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
And do you prefer to swim alone or with others?
Alone.
Has that always been the case?
Yes. I'm very independent. I like to be swimming at my own pace. I tend to veer. So I bump into people. The bay can be empty. There can be 2 people and a boy in the bay, and I'll hit one of them.
I think I'm with you on that one. It's a magnetism,
yes,
isn't it?
Yeah. So I'd rather swim alone. And occasionally people say, "Can I swim with you, Fran?" And that ends up with some quite funny situations where they're slightly alarmed by how far I go, or the caves that we wind our way through. I won't mention names, but they'll know if they hear this.
And so, are you a bit of a long distance swimmer? What's the sort of furthest that you tend to swim?
No, the furthest was right to Portsmouth, which was at low
That's
tide.
quite far. That's quite far. How far is that? Just
3.25 miles, 4.25 at high tide, but it was low tide. But that was. I was so worried I wouldn't do it. I didn't tell anybody I was doing it.
You're kidding,
No,
really?
no. So I just the lifeboat came with me, and I arrived the other side. Nobody to greet me. Nobody's greet me when I got home. Which was a bit sad in retrospect, but it was an amazing swim. No wetsuit, and it took just under 2 hours. And round in circles for I don't know how long. I didn't even know I was going round in circles in order to avoid a tanker that was going through the Solent. So that added to the time a bit. And then when we were halfway across, they were in communication with the Fishbourne ferry, and all the passengers lined up along the windows and waved at me. It was magic, absolutely magic. But I did get very cold that time.
Oh, talking of cold, you said you don't normally wear a wetsuit. What sort of kit is your essential, and what do you have any sort of favourite piece of kit?
Well, these days the neoprene hat. But otherwise, no, nothing.
Just a swimsuit and a hat.
Yeah.
Pair of goggles. Any special goggles?
No, I don't like goggles.
You don't like
not
goggles?
wear them.
So you really are minimalist then?
Minimalist when I can be. A few years back I swam around the Needles, and that was far enough that I had to put on some wetsuit bits. I didn't have a whole suit, but I had the tops and bottoms.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep going that long without it. And now, so I have just swum the Solent with the sports centre this year, and my main fear was getting very cold.
Yeah.
Not really the distance, and it was all right. Because the sea was at its height, the temperature.
We're now contending with some noisy construction work, but hopefully people will still be able to hear us. It is quite a lively place, this Freshwater.
Yes, very lively. As the years go by, I slightly resent it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what do you think about this kind of new popularity for wild swimming?
Well, I don't mind the wild swimmers. They're great fun, but there's one lady that comes down here in the morning and goes in a bobble cap, not a swimming cap, a bobble cap.
Yeah.
And I'm quite impressed by that. And they go through the winter, which of course I do, but not in this country.
Of course, you're a year-round but summer swimmer.
Yeah.
Now, could you just tell? So you did your first Solent swim a while ago. Do you want to tell us more about that? Why you first did it?
Oh, just the challenge. I'm always looking for a physical challenge. I think part of the thing that gets me through some quite low patches is when I have something to aim for. And as I said, swimming's easier than walking, so that's been the chief thing. So it's just to have a goal, really. And the second Solent swim was because that piece of water between Hurst and Polwell is so challenging. You have to get the tides right, or you haven't got a clue. And I didn't quite get the tides right the first time I did it. So it took me an hour and a half instead of just around an hour. And the lifeboat people that were with me kept trying to persuade me I should get out. Apparently I was going backwards at one point, but I didn't. And I got there in the end, but it did take an extra half an hour.
Yeah. So you're quite determined sort of person.
I'm quite determined, yes. Stubborn is another word for it.
And you said that I think you inspired other people to do that swim, didn't you?
Oh well, yes. Then after I'd done the first Hurst swim, I did from the island to Hurst, and as I said, I got caught in the riptide. It took half an hour to get through that little race there. So what I realised was that if you do it the other way round, you're much more able to get the tides right. Yeah. And when I'd done it, a lot of people said to me, if you ever do it again, I'd love to do it with you. And I'd been raising funds for Samaritans when I did it on my own, and I realised there was the potential for raising a lot of money for Samaritans if we ran it as a group effort. So then in 2008, I think 12 of us did it, and we had kayaks as well as a lifeboat, Freshwater Bay lifeboat, and another rib or two. I don't remember how many support vessels, but quite a lot. And that raised heaps of money, and that So there was a template then for that swim for Samaritans to raise funds, and if they went on doing it for several years, then I don't think they're doing it at all.
No.
But it made a huge difference to the wealth of the branch, which had been a very poor branch and became a very rich branch.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And now other charities are doing the same thing,
yes,
aren't they?
yes,
So,
and fair enough. There seem to be lots of people wanting to do it.
yeah.
One of the things that people worry about when they do it with the West White Sports Centre is that it's a very local charity. But in fact, some people come from the mainland, quite a long way away. I met several people this year who've come a long way, and they obviously managed to raise the funds easily.
Yeah. That's great. What else? What else can I ask you? I feel like I could talk forever, well, listen to you forever, but it is getting rather noisy.
It is, yes.
At the moment. Anything else you would like to tell us? Tell me about Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro was my ultimate challenge after I swum round the Needles, which I thought would be quite a big challenge, and was.
Yes.
I didn't know what I was going to tackle next, and I had looked at Kilimanjaro a few years before. I'd done the research and thought, I don't think I can do this. I'd done enough research for it to frighten me. And then after I'd done the needle swim, my sister said to me, I hope you won't be doing any more daft challenges like Kilimanjaro. And that's just red rag to a bull for me. So I started looking at it again and set it up. And once I started talking about it and committed in my head, people joined me. So I had 5 close friends who didn't know each other, but 6 of us went up with a huge team of porters and guides, and we took a slow route. I told the company that we went with that I couldn't walk more than 5 hours a day, and it was very, very hard, very slow, but it was fantastic until the last morning. On the 8th day, we were very, very close to the top, and I was shattered. We'd been up 13 hours the day before.
Wow.
So before dawn and after dusk, I was walking, and there's very little oxygen at that level, so I think it's 50% of what's at ground level. And I was shattered, and I thought we were ready to go, and there wasn't that much left to do, and I just said, I don't think I can do this. And the guide looked me straight in the eye, and he said, Fran, you're the reason we're all here. So I achieved it in the end, with help. I mean, with mental help, really. But it was much harder because it was an ongoing thing, day after day after day, and walking instead of swimming. But it's probably the thing I'm proudest of. It was fabulous.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I mean, after that, are there any other swimming challenges that you would like to set yourself?
Well, you should ask.
Oh, really?
Yes. Well, I got out. Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
I got out of the solo swim this year saying I'm never fucking well doing that again.
And
within about 3 weeks, I'm going. The one I really want to do is the Hellespont swim, which is near Istanbul. Right. So it's from Europe to Asia, and it's tiny. It's only 4.5 kilometres.
Yeah.
I'm kind of feeling around with 1 or 2 people that swim to see whether I can persuade them to come with me.
Sounds amazing. Tell me more.
Well, I don't know a lot more.
Do you know the temperature of the water roughly?
21 or 22.
Okay.
So I don't think most people wear wetsuits.
No.
I've seen the videos. And it worried me. It's a bit like Kilimanjaro. About 2 or 3 years ago, I got in touch with Swim Trek, who are the company that do it, and said, I would need somebody to make sure that I get into the water. Once I'm in the water, I'm fine,
Yeah.
but I need support getting into the water and somebody to pick up my sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And they just said, we can't help you with that.
Oh, really?
What you need is to bring your own support, and it needs to be a swimmer.
Right.
So now I'm kind of feeling around
Yeah.
with people to see people that do challenges.
I am sure you will find more than one.
I don't know, but the people who I told I'm never going to do this again will be horrified. However, I think it might have to be done.
Yeah. Well, I think you're a great inspiration.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It is getting a little bit noisy, I think,
Sure.
here. I would love to interview you again when you come back from Australia, if possible. But before we go, maybe you could just sum up what it is you love about swimming, as that is the title of this podcast.
The freedom in the water, the limited amount of challenge. I don't take risks, although people watch me and think I do, but I don't. I'm actually very careful in my risk taking. So there's a limited amount of risk. Something about the cold water that is very energising. So if I wake up feeling horrible and come and have an early swim, it just makes me feel completely better. It's just a good thing.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Fran. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome.